The Nigerian judicial system has been greeted with anomalies. On one hand, there is a huge displeasure from the public, while on the other hand, there is satisfaction that, of course, have come a long way. Hello, dear. Thank you so very much for joining us on Political Affairs on Camera TV. My name is Chris Jacobs. Of course, today I have with me in the studio Barrister Sunday Joshua Wogira. He's a legal practitioner based here in Adamawa State, and he doubles as the Senior Special Assistant to the Governor of Adamawa State on Public Affairs. Barrister, it's a pleasure to have you on Political Affairs today.
Thank you, the pleasure is mine.
Good. Now, let me just set a premise for this conversation. How would you describe the Nigerian judicial system under current administration of Bola Ahmed Tinubu? I ask this question deliberately because we have seen before now where the judicial system seemed to be tilted towards the desires and the caprices of the government in power.
Well, it is something that is very difficult to give a fair assessment. But by and large, the judiciary, like every segment of the society today, is facing its own unique trial and difficult moments. But we have to give it to the judiciary, despite the difficulties. They've been making effort unsuccessfully to remain afloat. And we have to give it to them for this difficult task and withstanding the trial at the same time. So, for me, in my own opinion, the judiciary, they have still not lost it.
But have lost the bit of it.
Well,
is that what you're saying?
See, no one in this country can confidently come out and say that I have not lost it, or there is no segment that has not lost it. Despite the challenges, you have to give the judiciary a pass mark.
Well, some persons are of the opinion that the appointment of judicial officers is actually the beginning of some of these problems we see. When I say judicial officers, I'm solely referring to the CJ, just like the appointment of the INEC boss that is done directly by the president. Now, and that questions the independence of the judiciary. Do you still see, the need to change the pattern of appointment or appointing judicial officers or appointing CJ of the Federation, regardless of whether or not it is independent?
These are two different things. When you talk about the appointment of judicial officers, it's not the same thing as the appointment of
CJ.
A CJ. A CJ is a succession, it's an office that comes by way of seniority. So it has been designed in such a way that it is the next most senior after the outgoing CJ that steps in everywhere. So it is inconsequential whether it is the president that appoints or the governor or whoever.
It has to pass the process of,
thing is the process is being followed.
Okay.
And there is nothing anybody can do. What actually we need to buckle up on and ensure that the sifting process is tightened is the entry, the appointment of judicial officers.
Okay.
In fact, not just the courts of record, even the area courts, the customary courts, the Sharia courts, that we have, the upper area court, the magistracy. We have seen how some judges, actually, this area court, lower court generally, are misbehaving and carrying on as lots of them are. Some of them are not even lawyers, and they create a lot of problems, perception problems in the system. They give the judiciary a bad name, particularly amongst commoners, people in villages. Reprehensibly some of these lower court judges, somebody will just come and tell a litigant that why do you need a lawyer in your case? A lawyer is not better than me. You know, you should have come to me. So these are some of the issues, and it is some of these perceptions that people don't even distinguish between a lower court judge and a high court judge, or judges of court of record, and those on the lower bench. And the perception they give is that the judiciary is terrible, and it is most of these terrible acts comes from the lower bench, you know.
But before now, there's this cliche that, okay, the court is actually the last hope of the common man. Now, with what you just said in your submission, it shows that the ordinary citizen is beginning to lose faith, you know, in the judiciary, because some will say he that plays the tune, you know, he that plays the pipe dictate the tune. If you don't have money, if your status is not you know, recognized in the society, you hardly can, of course, win a case. And that is one of the reasons why a lot of people are beginning to lose confidence in the court. Because you could see that a case, ordinarily that is supposed to be won by one who, of course, has his fact, but because it's nobody in the society.
Yes, we cannot take away the fact that there is corruption in the judiciary. Yes, there is. Because in every 12 there must be a Judas. Sure. But I'm telling you, there are so many people who again will tell you that they have confidence in the judiciary because they have received justice and they have no money, you know. It depends on, the unfortunate thing is that most of the people who benefited from the system seldom come out to praise the system. You know. And it is those who suffer injustice one way or the other, you know, that comes out to, and it becomes an issue. Yes, we know that there are challenges, but I am telling you, it is the judiciary today that is keeping this country, whether we like it or not. Without the judiciary, without the justice that the judiciary dispenses, our society would have collapsed, because people would have resorted to jungle justice, and that would have ended our society today as a nation.
While there is a few of a greater majority of the citizens who are not satisfied with the
you
Nigerian
see, most of, we have to, is there any system that anybody is satisfied with today? Is there any sector? Whether the judiciary, whether the executive, whether the legislature. But I am telling you that the judiciary is the least of all the challenges that we have in this country. And I will keep on saying it. There are corrupt elements in the judiciary, but they are not in the majority. There are very few.
But what is the judiciary doing, or the Nigerian judicial system, or the NJC doing to flush out these?
The NJC has been doing a lot in this regard. We have seen some suspensions, we have seen some dismissals, but people don't see that as anything, you know. And some of us, or some people in the society, believe that we want to have a sweeping generalization. That cannot be possible. Even in Sodom, there was a lot.
Who eventually lost his wife. All right. Now, before I allow you to catch your breath, of course, I will try to juxtapose the appointment between the CJ of the Federation as well as the INEC chairman. But before that, ordinarily, the judiciary is supposed to be independent of its
It is independent.
No, let me get there. Just like we have three arms of government, so it is with three tiers of government: federal, state, and local government. We also have executive, judiciary, and the legislature. And they're supposed to operate independently regardless. But it seems as if the executive has encapsulated not just the judiciary alone, but including the legislative arm of government. So what do you make of it?
Well, I wouldn't want to believe that the judiciary has captured the judiciary.
No, but it dance to the tune of the executive.
I don't think so. There could be exceptional cases, yes, there could be, but I don't think that is a statement of fact that everyone will believe. It is just a perception. It is just a perception, which is most unfortunate. With regards to the legislature, I won't blame the executive for capturing the legislature if there is something like that. What I want people to know is that who do you vote as your representative to go and represent you in the legislature? If you vote a man of anything goes, you know, after collecting spaghetti and 1,000 naira, do you expect that same person to go and fight for you to ensure that what belongs to you rightly comes to you? He has bought you with money, and he's a businessman. But he will look for opportunities that he will recoup and get more money to come and give you more, so that you go back to the assembly.
So there is a collaboration between the legislators and members of the judiciary, because if you look at it, ordinarily an error that has been made to become a norm. Ordinarily, the law says, even though the Constitution anyway is being absorbed into the Constitution, that any lawmaker who defects from his seat on that platform or defect from a particular platform on the wings of a political party where he rode upon and was elected to be either a senator or a governor or even a member House of Representatives, eventually the person defect to another political party, the law says the seat should be rendered declared vacant, and of course a by-election should hold in regards to that. But we haven't seen something like that happen in recent time, ever since these issues have been brought to fore. And the judiciary has a role to play here.
The judiciary, they are not a Father Christmas. You don't expect the judiciary to initiate process against anyone on its own. The process must be brought to it. And that is why in this issue of cross-carpeting, I blame the political parties entirely. And
you don't blame the individual that cross-carpet and jump ship, you blame the political parties? What do you make of the recent happening in Rivers State, where the governor, as a matter of fact, Sim Fubara, his appeal was quashed by the court, and even about 2 million was fined against him?
The facts in that regard, it was an appeal that was withdrawn. And I still blame Fubara. Why would Fubara go to court against the legislators' defection? Where is PDP? It is PDP that should go to court against this, because they went on its vehicle.
But Fubara is a PDP member, and of course the way it is practiced in Nigeria,
he cannot be more PDP than the PDP chairman.
But of course the governor is seen to be the leader. The governor is seen to be the leader of the party. Like Ken Adamawa said, Right Honorable Amadou Moro Finturi, the governor of Adamawa said, is seen and viewed as the leader of the party. So invariably,
let me give you an example.
All right.
In the last dispensation, between 2019 and 2023, there was a PDP member that defected to APC. Whose seat was declared vacant. Yeah. That is very fundamental. He went to court. He did not join Right Honorable Amadou Moro Fintiri as a party before the Federal High Court. It was the PDP and the State Assembly with the Speaker. You understand? Fintiri, whether we like it or not, knows the rules of the games, and he cannot just belittle himself to go and be fighting any member of the State Assembly that decided to cross-carpet to another party. That is entirely the business of the leadership of the House and the party that the member defected from.
Let me allow you to catch
up.
So
in this instance, like what we have in the National Assembly, of course you don't expect the leadership of the National Assembly to declare the seat of a member of the PDP or ABGA or Labour that defects to APC. It is to their credit. So the parties concerned should be in the forefront and should not even wait until it becomes an issue that they go to court. You go to court forthright.
All right, let me allow you to catch up, Bridget. There's still more to talk about as regard to this kind of development, but just ponder on this. the former resident electoral commissioner of Adamawa State during the dismissed resident electoral commissioner, talking about Barrister Harry Udu. Interestingly, he's also a legal practitioner, but of course, having circumvented the modus operandi of judicial jurisprudence, has gone for appeal, not appealing the announcement made that upheld Governor Finturi's victory, but of course appealing his dismissal, and that is between him and the federal government. And he's still adamant and resolute that Senator Airu Binani actually was the winner, substantially the winner of the last governorship election. So I'd like you to point down this so that when we come from this short time now, we will further the conversation the more. All right, you're watching Political Affairs on Camera TV. We'll take a short break. We'll be back in a moment. Join us again. Alright, glad to know you're still there. We have just joined us. You're watching Political Affairs on Camera TV. I've been speaking with Barrister Sunday Joshua Bogira. He is a lawyer based in Yola, and he doubles as the Senior Special Assistant to the Governor of Public Affairs. And our focus has been the Nigerian judicial system. Now, before the break, I brought an issue that is, of course, on the front burner of national discourse, and this is still current, talking about the appeal by the dismissed resident electoral commissioner, talking about Barrister Hadi Udu, whose dismissal came on the heels of circumventing judicial order, making pronouncement over the elections, over the governorship election in Adamawa State, declaring Senator Aishatu Binani the sole winner of the election, Aishatu Binani of the APC. Not until the Supreme Court, of course, has died the whole issue. But in recent time, the federal government has dismissed him. But still, he's adamant, he's resolute to his previous submissions that Aisha Binani, Senator Binani, was the winner of the governorship election. And he has appealed his dismissal, because he can no longer appeal the Supreme Court ruling, but he's appealed his dismissal, by the federal government. So what do you make of it?
Appealing his dismissal where? You see, this is somebody that has become serially and pathologically a liar. He had all the opportunities, and even the loser of the election had the opportunity to use him as a witness, get his witness statement on oath, get the documents he is purporting to be in his possession, to rely on such documents in her petition. That was not used. He was arraigned, or he was taken before the court. He went into hiding, and this brings into focus the complicity of the central government in all this. Nobody with a nuisance value should create an impression that he is a victim of the system. If we want to have a sane and normal society, there is a pending matter against Udu before the Adamawa State High Court, number 8 Yola.
Which he never appeared.
And this matter was brought in by the federal government. There is another one brought in by the state government. What were the charges? He went ahead to declare a winner in an election that the process was not completed? How did he get his results when the collation was still ongoing with some local governments outstanding? How? That is one. Assuming but not conceding, he had the locus to make a declaration. Can you declare an election or a winner in an election that the process has not been concluded? That is one. If you answer this question in the negative, then there was no result from his side, valid result. If that is understood, he has violated the law. That is number one. Number two, he was the resident electoral commissioner in the state.
Not the returning.
Not the returning officer. The returning officer was one Professor Mele Kyari, who was vested with the powers to collect results and make a declaration and return. So, what happened to the returning officer that Hudu Ari wanted to or usurped that powers, that office, to make a return and declaration? These are crimes. And for him to do such, he has committed an offense of impersonation. And you know for sure that declaration, were it not for the fact that the government of Adamawa State was a responsible government and a responsive one, there could have been bloodshed.
But if the declaration had scaled through, wouldn't that be like a precedent that is set already?
It wouldn't have scaled through. It wouldn't. Anywhere, and it was put to test actually. That was part of the petition. And it was answered by the tribunal in the negative. The only valid result was the result announced by the returning officer eventually, after the collation of the results from the outstanding local governments. These are the issues. You see, when you are a habitual offender, you create a lot of issues for yourself. For Hudu to even have the audacity, the temerity, and the courage to come out after the courts decided otherwise, and this time around the Supreme Court, on the validity and the sanctity and the integrity of the results declared, in favor of Right Honorable Ahmadu Umaru Fintiri as the winner of the 2023 governorship election in Adamawa State with an overwhelming vote difference of almost 40,000. And someone who is a fugitive, running away from the arms of the law, knowing that he has committed an offense, and 2 years after the commission of that offense and his suspension, he was dismissed from service, dishonorably dismissed.
Without any benefit now.
Of course there will be no benefit. How can you have any benefit after committing a crime and even desecrating the sanctity of your office?
But what does the law say as regard to someone who evade arrest? Because ordinarily he was supposed to present himself to the court. What does the law say, and what position does the Nigerian security operative, like the lead agency to get about Nigerian police?
This brings to fore the other issues. Hudu did not commit these offenses alone. Security chiefs were involved.
Yeah, sure. Because there was one police commissioner,
yes,
and also
Barde, Mohammed Barde.
Yes, and also civil defense.
The people of Imo State rejected him during the governorship election. They rejected him, and the police had to excuse him. The the commandant of the Nigerian Civil Defense Corps that was transferred from here was also involved. The SDS, State Director of Security, was also involved. He was removed from here. These people, there is no way Hudu would be prosecuted without them. They are accomplices to the treasonable act of Hudu. What are we talking about? And that Hudu cannot be arrested. Where did this journalist meet him? In his house. In his house in Bauchi.
Yeah.
So there is complicity, and we are not living in a normal society. Otherwise, this nonsense would not be happening.
So who is to push for his arrest now? And of course, what does the law say as regard to,
In fact, INEC must redeem itself. That yes, it is committed to ensure in ensuring that only responsible people are given responsibilities to conduct elections and hold sensitive office like that of resident electoral commissioner. He made mention of his head of ICT, that the head of ICT gave some documents to the government or the governor of Adamawa State. That is preposterous. The head of ICT conducted himself responsibly during the election, because were it not for the fact that the IREF was streaming live results from polling units across Adamawa State, it would have been a different ballgame. Even in Fofore, where they took away results, and thank goodness PDP was prepared, and we had all the results from IREF, and perhaps he was given an instruction not to share the results on IREF, but he felt he had a duty to do that, and he did. If that is his offense, fine.
If that was
just like we could not have results during the presidential election, that generated a lot of things. You see, in Adamawa State, fate and divine intervention sorted issues for us. And some people that are less endowed in thinking, in understanding of the law and the process of election, are busy disgracing themselves and exposing their ignorance and complicity in the commission of crime, electoral offenses. That somebody who has no integrity, who violated the law, would, without compunction, holds the Holy Quran and be talking. What do you make of such a human being? And the question is, was he even holding the Quran? Does he even know how sacrosanct the Quran is? And all these people that are saying that he held the Quran and swore that somebody should. People must be careful what they say.
But what should have done? What should have been done rather to deter others? Because if it's not prosecuted now, there's no deterrent.
We are watching. We are watching. There is a heavy burden on the government of the Federation of Nigeria.
Because if you look at the trajectories over time, corruption is in phases, and some criminal act as well. Corruption is a criminal act, no doubt, isn't it? It's in phases. If a politician or someone who has occupied an elective or statutory position in this country and embezzles money, for instance, somebody embezzles like 80 billion naira money made for his public funds anyway. Because he has a status in the society and in the government, he's asked to give what is known as plea bargain. So out of 80 billion, he gives like 30 billion and he's scot-free, moving free like a bird. A commoner in the society, maybe because of hunger or what, steals a goat. He doesn't have a privilege now to be asked to plea bargain. So he's taken to prison. Perhaps he doesn't have money to pay for his bail. He goes to prison. So there is this contrast between how the judiciary operates, how the law catches up with those who have a status in the society, talking about the bourgeois, the rich ones. Except otherwise, if God helps the commoner who commit a crime and then pro bono come to bail him out. So talk to me about how the law operates to the bourgeoisie in Nigeria, looking at the position it has subjected the common Nigerians.
This is very interesting, Chris. The judiciary, we have to understand this from the onset. The judiciary does not make the law. The judiciary interprets the law. All these dichotomies that you talk about, it is in the legislation. So, it is not the fault of the judiciary. That is why I will repeat it for the umpteenth time here, that our legislative houses should never be made an all-comers affair. But unfortunately,
how do you mean an all-comers affair?
Legislative business is a serious business that should be given to minds that are very open, very sound, very reasonable, knowing the duties of a legislator. Communities, constituencies must ensure that those they give the responsibility or give their votes to represent them in legislative houses are people that are versatile, people that believe that our society today is dysfunctional and it is only good laws that can put our society back on track and maintain a good, bring about good governance that will help the executive, perform rightly in tandem with global best practices. Because it pays.
And so long Nigerian politicians, as long as they are not incarcerated when they embezzle public funds, as long as public office holders continue to embezzle huge amount of money and are asked to pay plea bargain and they are free like birds, crime will or the judiciary will be seen not to be the last hope of the common man again.
I don't want this argument to be of this nature.
What we see happening in Nigeria, what we see happening in Nigeria, whenever you see a bourgeois or whenever you see a politician or a public office holder commit a huge or heinous crime and does not go to prison, it means he has a romance with the executive. But anytime someone falls apart with the executive, whether by political party affiliation or not, that's when we see the Sense Financial Crime Commission and of course security, DSS and so on, and clamp in on such kind of person because perhaps he might have fallen out of favor with his paymaster.
You see, I want people to understand one thing. The judiciary itself is pained at the picture that is being painted of itself. But sometimes it could not help itself. One, it doesn't come out to address issues.
That is it. So it should purge itself as a matter of fact.
It cannot. It cannot come out to address issues just like I have the opportunity to talk about cases. Judges don't come out to explain themselves.
They don't.
Everything is in the judgment, and you see we are not a reading nation. We don't read. In fact, sometimes we will refuse to read. Even if we read, we will refuse to understand. And perhaps it is part of the training we receive for a purpose. We are only given an education that enables us to read and write, but not to reason. That power is taken by the government because we only produce machines, a workforce. Unfortunately, Nigerians don't sit down to ask questions. We don't ponder. And we don't even have a sense of history.
And that's why
we cannot even remember things. That is why government at all times, government has mastered the art of deception. When they want to do whatever, they divert the attention of people by one negative report or one sensational report, and the whole of the nation will go there and they perfect their evil and get away with it. And nobody will come and ask questions. Unfortunately.
Unfortunately, indeed.
So we have a lot of issues. This country, we are talking about judiciary. No. Let us talk about ourselves.
So change
Let us reform ourselves. Let us be tenacious in this issue of change. And let us also ensure that we assess and we weigh whatever anybody is talking about. You will find people who are just trading post agents coming to talk about nonsense, and somebody will want to make a report out of it, and we want to push it down the throat of people and the minds of people, and that is all we could remember. It is sad.
Well, yeah, and it is also sad that we are ending the conversation now.
Well, the conversation will have to end.
Yes,
we don't have all the time.
We will still have better time to,
No problem. I am always available.
I want to thank you so very much, Barrister Sunday Wugira.
It is my pleasure.
Thank you. Looking forward to seeing more of you again. Talk some more. This is very critical indeed. Thank you once again.
It is my pleasure.
All right. Well, viewers, this is where we've come to the end of the conversation, to the program today, and I hope you had a good time. Thank you for being with us from start to finish. Join us again, same time, same station, as we come with a fresh edition of the program. Until then, stay safe. My name is Chris Jacobs. God bless Nigeria.